Hello and welcome back to Fourth Down Focus. And for the first time this season, welcome to our Week 1 playoff predictions. We've had our regular season predictions. And speaking of our regular season predictions, you may have seen it on our Twitter, but if you haven't, we recently announced the results of our season predictions table. So we tallied it up throughout the whole season. And results came in as that Caden obviously finished bottom as he was basically the entire year, despite people having bye weeks before him, he was still last. And because Max is an absolute bottle job, I was the winner after Kean and Max had their stupid belts out all year. And all that to bottle it anyway. Yeah, quite happy to win. Knew I was going to win, obviously. Had absolutely no doubt for any point of the season that I wasn't going to win. And also had absolutely no doubt that Caden wasn't going to be the loser throughout the whole season. In fact, people won't know this, but I actually told Kian that it was really close in the last 2 weeks because I stopped telling the lads with the last 3 weeks to go what the scores were, so people had a bit more like build up to it. Yeah, Caden was about 11 behind Kian, but I didn't want to tell him that, so I just kept stringing him along, saying there's like 2 or 3 in it, and that every game mattered when it absolutely didn't.
I swear at one point I was getting close.
You were about 7 behind, and then you started predicting teams like the Titans to win meaningful games, and that's when you started falling back again.
Yeah, fair enough.
But for
We
this
only
week,
get an
obviously,
extra.
we have the playoffs, which don't count towards our league, fortunately for me and probably Caden, just so he doesn't have to deal with any more of that. There will also be a forfeit coming at some point for Caden, but we have to work out what that's going to be, but you will find out when it happens. So the playoffs predictions. Here is the bracket for the NFL playoffs in 2024-2025. Now, so for this episode, what we're going to do is we'll sort of discuss the wildcard games in a bit in depth. And then to finish off, we'll sort of go through the whole bracket and say who we think is going to end up where throughout the playoffs. So, I mean, we'll start with the AFC side of things. And we'll go for the Chargers and the Texans. Kian, you can start us off.
This game is the seeds should be swapped. The Texans are absolute frauds for me. The only reason they're in is because their division is so bad. The Chargers did the Chargers have a better record?
I think so.
And they just look so much better.
Same.
CJ's had a bit of a slump this year as well. And I just see no way for me that. Are we saying our prediction now as well? Let's just a quick question. Yeah, I see no way for me that the Chargers don't progress and set up a divisional matchup against the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
Caden?
Yeah, Kian's not wrong. The Texans aren't all that this year. They're a shadow of what they were last year, and they are only in the playoffs because of their division. I think the Chargers, underrated team at the moment. People are writing them off, but I don't know if I want to say it, but there could be an upset in the divisional round for Chiefs, and I think it would come from the Chargers. So they're my pick against the Texans. I feel like that's a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken a lot of times how much I really rate the Chargers this year, and I agree. I think they're criminally underrated. You said CJ's just not had the sophomore year that we expect in the NFL, and it's just been bad for the Texans. Like, it's really surprising to see them at that 4 seed because if you look throughout the whole season, I can't really think of a game where the Texans have been good. They've just been winning enough to get in. The Chargers, I think, are great. I love Jim Harbaugh. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Justin Herbert's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league, I think. And I think this should be, as Kian said, quite a straightforward routine win for the Chargers to set up that meeting against the Chiefs. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Baltimore Ravens. Caden, you can start us off.
Yeah, I think it's a divisional match, and this is always a good game from our division, but the Ravens are clearly a level above of the Steelers. The Steelers, maybe earlier in the season, maybe like the middle of the season, I was thinking that they were actually a serious team. Then I realised that they're not, and they just kick field goals like it's nothing. So I think the Ravens will run right against them, even without Zay Flowers, and the Ravens are the easy pick for me.
Kian?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Someone should probably tell the Steelers that Sean Dyche is now available to be an offensive coordinator because that is literally how they play. But for the last couple of weeks, they've been genuinely terrible. It was a close game against the Bengals, but I just don't think they're a very good team, to be honest. It could be a closer game than I'm anticipating. But yeah, even without Zay Flowers, I don't see any way that Pittsburgh go into Baltimore and win that game. So give me Lamar Jackson and the Ravens progressing.
Yeah, I think you're writing the Steelers off a bit too much. I'm not saying I'm going to disagree with you with the prediction because I'm not. I am going to pick the Ravens, but these games have proven to be really close every time they happen, and I don't think this is going to be any different. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, and it'll be a close game more than anything. I just think that the Ravens have that little bit more, but without Zay Flowers, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers take them down, just because I think that defense is proving to be so solid and throughout the whole season. But with the playoff records of some of the players and with the team as well, just not being able to see them winning the playoffs, I think I'm just going to take the Ravens, but I think it's a lot closer than you made it out to be there. Next up, the Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills. Kian, I know you've got some. Well, I'd say this is probably going to be a quick answer from you.
Well, this isn't going to be a close game. This is going to be absolute whitewash. I'd have preferred to see the Bengals in that 7th slot. I think they probably have given the Bills a game. Whereas I think the Broncos might struggle just to do anything, to be honest. Do we know if it's going to be snowing yet?
I can check.
Please do. Get the weather app up.
Yeah, I'm getting the weather app up. Does anyone know when the game is? Is it
Saturday?
So I think it could be Sunday 1:00.
We'll just say for the sake of it, it's Sunday. Well, Saturday has a chance of snow. I can't see anything on Sunday, so probably not.
It'll be very cold anyway.
It's currently -7 in Buffalo, so
fucking Jesus. Give me the it will be. Give me the Bills because I don't really think the Broncos are any good. They've done well to get this far, but Buffalo are a much better team, and Josh Allen is going to go all the way.
Caden?
Yeah, I'm not as straightforward as Kane. I think I can't write the Broncos off purely because it's an underdog story, and you really don't know how they're going to perform because God knows the last time the Broncos were in the playoffs, and the Bills, yeah, they're a good team, but I think they'd have been better suited playing against a team like the Bengals, and they know what they're expecting. They're expecting high scoring. They're expecting Burrow chase, etc. And I think the Broncos could catch them out a little bit and maybe hold them to a close game. I do think the Bills will win the game because Josh Allen's, for me, the MVP, and he is still playing at that level. But I'm not writing the Broncos off as much as I think the Bills will win.
Yeah, a part of me really, really wants to pick the Broncos here, and I have no idea why, because there's probably no real justification for it. But part of it is I don't want to be boring and just pick the favourites every time because it's what it looks like for most of this. You probably will pick the favourites on most games, but there's something about the Broncos and the Bills just showing a few signs of weakness in the last few weeks of the season, albeit they won their games, but you can see there's weaknesses in that team. And as you said, Caden, it's the element of surprise in a way, whereas if you had the Broncos, you know what you're getting, whereas if you had the Bengals, you know what you're getting, but with the Broncos, you don't really know what to expect. I think, I mean, you don't know how much I love Bo Nix, and I think he's had a much better season than everyone anticipated. And it's a difficult one. I think using my brain as far as wanting to get the prediction right, I should probably take Buffalo. But you know what? For the sake of it, someone's got to be different. I'm going to back the Broncos to win this game just out of pure hoping for an underdog and just not being boring and trying to go something different. So give me the Broncos to beat the Bills. Next up, we go to the NFC. We have the Minnesota Vikings, the 5th seed somehow, despite going 14-3. And the Rams. Kian, you can start us off.
Firstly, are you fucking mental?
I told you, it's just I just
want
to.
No way. I'm sorry, there's no way the Broncos go in there and win.
I think you're criminally underrating the Broncos and the element of not knowing what to expect.
I just don't think they're anywhere near the level of Buffalo.
Yeah, but this happens all the time. There's teams who are nowhere near the level of other teams and they end up surprising them.
It's not happening. Anyway, The Rams are going to beat the Vikings. I got a feeling that after the Vikings have had such a good season, they're going to go to LA and be shocked if the game even gets played in LA and SoFi hasn't burned down. I think that if do we know? Sorry, that wasn't meant to be funny. Is Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both fit?
I haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. So
right, so in that case, the Rams have got a very short window to get another ring before Stafford's window is closed. So give me the Rams, and then I think they'll probably lose in the next round.
Caden?
I think this Vikings team, people are writing them off because it's the Vikings. If it was the Lions playing like the Vikings and we'd swapped places, then it'd be the same thing. People are underrating them just because of who it is. I think the Vikings are a serious team. They breeze past the Rams in this round for me. Obviously, they're friends of the podcasts as well, so I've got to take the bias out of it a little bit. But I do think the Vikings, they are a very, very good team, and people need to realise that they're not just fluking these wins and they're winning these games because they're good.
Yeah, it was a difficult one for me because it's hard to ignore a team that's gone 14-3. And, I've said a lot about the Vikings throughout the season. I think they're a really good team. I still stand by it, and they've proven me right that they are a very good football team. As Caden said, take the bias out of it, my best mate, Aaron Jones. But to be fair, I thought I'd be the only one to do this, but apparently not. I'm also going to take the Rams. I think Stafford wants that revenge game against Detroit, if anything else, after last year. And I think the Vikings with Darnold just aren't ready for a playoff game yet. And, they've had a great season. And again, there'd be absolutely no surprise if they win this game, like none, because on paper, they probably are the better team. But I just think playoff experience is key to get far in the playoffs. You don't really see many teams going on massive runs who don't have the sort of experience that other teams who do. So I think I'm going to go with the Rams to set up a big game for Detroit Rams again, this time in the divisional. But yeah, I'm going to back the Rams. Next up, the Washington Commanders against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I'm going to start this one off. I've said all season that the Commanders are frauds and they shouldn't be where they are. And I'm going to be proven right because they're going to lose this game as well. I think the last few weeks they've been pretty poor, all things considered, just getting through their wins. But I think Tampa are a good team. And as Max, who isn't here, would say, you don't back against Baker. I'm not going to. I am going to take the Bucs to win this game. I just think they're a better team. I think Baker has that playoff experience, albeit not much, but it's there. Daniels is a rookie. It's hard. I know I back the Broncos, but that's just me just trying to go for a little upset run. In reality, the Bills will definitely almost win that game. But I am going to back the Bucs in this one and take the Commanders out back to hopefully next year the bottom of the NFC East where they belong. Kian?
Rookie quarterbacks really don't fare very well in the playoffs. I seen a stat about it the other day. Whether it's the pressure, whatever it is, they just don't seem to fare well there at all. But the Buccaneers have been mediocre whilst also topping their division. I really didn't think much of them against the Saints. I thought they were, especially in a game they had to win. I know they won it in the end, but Spencer Rattler to be running you that close for as long as he did, serious issues there. That being said, I'm still going to go for the Bucs. I just, like you say, I like the Commanders. I don't mind them, but I just think rookie quarterbacks can't get it done in the playoffs for me. So give me Baker and give me the Buccaneers.
Ken?
I think this is the hardest game to predict out of this round, just because they are the two worst teams in the playoffs, which I'm sure at least one of you will agree with. I think you've got the argument of Tampa, they're not amazing, and they maybe shouldn't be in the position that they're in if they're in a different division. And then, obviously, Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback, doesn't know how to play a playoff game. But I think this will maybe be the most entertaining game in this round of the playoffs. And I think the win will go to Washington just because I think they've got a more well-rounded team at the moment. I think the Bucs, not really amazing, but they're not bad. I think the Commanders, they've got that bit of momentum, and no one expected them to be where they are now. So I think they're going to carry that over and get a win, but they will get knocked out in the round after.
It's very made a point about rookie quarterbacks as well. I did as well as you can, but Bo Nix is about 30 at this point, so he might be all right. We'll move on to the Eagles and the Packers. Now, I'm going to start this one off again because this one for me is a purely circumstantial prediction. I never do this because I never keep up to date with injuries. But if Jalen Hurts is injured or not, will completely flip my prediction on this one. And it's because
what about Jordan Love? He might be injured as well.
Exactly. And this is the whole thing is circumstantial. If both quarterbacks are fit, the Eagles win this game, I think. I think they are the better team. And as much as I hate saying it, because I hate the Eagles, they are the better team. There is more experience there. And I think the Packers are just a bit early in their sort of, whatever you want to call it, rebuild. I think they're just a bit early. With Watson going down with an ACL, I think is the worst possible timing for them to lose their number one guy as a receiver. And I think just if both quarterbacks are fit, I'm going to take the Eagles. If Hurts is injured and Love is fit, I think it could be a different game. And I probably would sway more towards the Packers because I don't see Kenny Pickett winning a playoff game in a million years. So, and again, if it's the other way around, if they're both injured and it's Pickett versus who is it again, Malik Wills, then
that's it, Malik Wills. Yeah,
that might be the funniest game ever if that is actually the case. And you know what? Part of me actually hopes that happens because that would be entertainment quality of seeing them two play a playoff game against each other. But I think if both quarterbacks are fit, or at least if Jalen Hurts is fit, I'm taking the Eagles. The only reason I wouldn't take the Eagles is if Hurts is injured and Love is fit. Kian?
Yeah, like you said, the injuries are a massive part of this game. I said it on that live yesterday. We'll get onto that live at the end of this because that was a car crash in its own right. But there was a Packers fan on there, and he asked me the same question, who I thought was going to win this game. And I gave a very similar answer to exactly what you've just said there. It depends on the injuries. If Jordan Love is fit, I think it'll be a close game. If Jordan Love isn't fit, I don't even think it will be close. Even if Hurts isn't, I think that the Eagles have got a better team. You know, if you look at the Packers receivers, there's not a standout. Jaden Reed is the standout, and he wouldn't stand out in any other NFL team. They should probably be looking at T. Higgins in free agency. That'd be a huge move. Or Tyreek Hill. I personally wouldn't pick up Tyreek Hill. Come on, Cheetah, come and play for the Packers. But no, I just think that I'm going to pick the Eagles, but the Packers, I think maybe a year too early.
Caden?
Yeah, I think the Packers are a weird team. Whenever I've watched them this year, they've been so hit and miss. I think the Eagles, they never really are hit and miss. They have like a good start to the season and fall off a bit. But this year, the Eagles, I think they are one of the favourites for the Super Bowl, obviously. I don't know what the odds are, but there's a reason for it. And regardless of injuries or whatever, whether both quarterbacks end up starting, I do think the Eagles are the better team. The Packers don't excite me as much as they did last year. I thought they were a lot better last year than they are now. I think with Saquon playing as well as he is now as well, I think the Eagles should quite easily win this game. But if both quarterbacks don't end up playing, that is just brilliant entertainment, and I will be watching that game with a keen eye.
I mean, it's I think that game's very circumstantial, isn't it? It could be hilarious. It could be just a blowout for the Eagles, but I think I sort of agree with you up there. So there's our wildcard predictions for this week. So now we're going to sort of go through the rest of the bracket. So obviously, lads, you're going to have to keep your memory up of who you've put through to make sure you predict the right games, because this is where it all changes because we're all going to pick different people. So I believe we all have the Chargers playing the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Am I correct there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chargers, Chiefs at Arrowhead. Kian?
Chiefs, because the Chargers, I think, are a year too early to be beating them at Arrowhead. They couldn't do it in the regular season. They're not going to do it in the playoffs.
Caden?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs will win this. I did say that the Chargers might get a bit of an upset, but if we're just like being down to earth at the moment, the Chiefs aren't going to be beaten until at least the conference game. So easy win for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I can't remember what the guy's name is on socials and stuff, but you know the guy on American TV with the long hair who does all these like the quarterback mountain and all this stuff. He sort of said the Chiefs have a 2-game season most every single season, and it's the last 2 playoff games. The season doesn't really start to the AFC Championship, and he's probably not wrong. And I think it's going to be the case again this year. I think the Chargers are a great team. I don't think it's going to be a walkover for the Chiefs, but it's just the Chiefs, isn't it? And they've just got, as you said, I think they haven't really shown what they're capable of yet, and I think they're probably saving it for now, and that's why. So yeah, it gave me the Chiefs to win in Arrowhead. So for now, this one's very different a bit because obviously I decided to go with an interesting prediction of take the Broncos. So for you two, it is the Ravens versus the Bills in the divisional round. So I'll let you two do yours first. So Keane,
Okay, okay, I'll start then. I'll start.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. Right. I will go for Buffalo just because Baltimore going into Buffalo, I see no way that they don't win that game, Buffalo. But it'll be an interesting game. These are the sort of games that you watch the playoffs for. So you don't watch the playoffs to watch Bucky and Bo Nix. So this will be a good game, and I do think it'll be a Buffalo win, and they will be heading to the AFC Championship.
I watched the playoffs for Bo Nix. Caden?
This is a brilliant matchup. You've got the 2 best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL going at each other. It's just going to be a shootout, I think. And I will take the Bills in this game, but it's a very, very close one. But if Zay Flowers is still out for the Ravens at this point, which I'm not sure it will be, but it's going to be a big miss, especially at Buffalo. So I think the Bills take it, but it's going to be an amazing game to watch if it does happen. But I don't think anyway it won't.
I will say if Buffalo avoid that sort of uncertain game against the Broncos, I can't see them not in the AFC Championship.
Uncertain?
It's not uncertain in the fact that they aren't the better team. It's just uncertain as the fact you don't know what's coming.
Well, we've not won
I know
it
what's
yet.
coming.
I think if they do avoid that game, they'll play the Ravens here. As far as my predictions go, and they will go through to the AFC Championship. But I did predict the Broncos, and if it is the Broncos versus the Ravens, I've got a sneaky suspicion it'll be the end of this sort of Bo Nix fairy tale story, and it will be quite a simple win for the Ravens. I think people will quickly work out what to do if they do beat the Bills. I think if they did, it would be sort of that maybe a bit more cautious from Baltimore, thinking, okay, they can beat a team like the Bills. Let's play it calm here, but I think that they should be going through to the AFC Championship there. So as far as my bracket goes, I'm taking the Ravens to beat the Broncos and move on to the AFC Championship against the Chiefs. So we've set up our AFC Championship on the left-hand side of this bracket. So now we'll move to the NFC and set up the NFC Championship. So I believe, Caden, I'll let you start first because you obviously predicted the Vikings to go play the Lions. So you've got the Vikings-Lions in the divisional round.
Yeah, well, this was the big matchup in Week 18 for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And it's a very good game. I think, obviously, there's a lot at stake, considering how low the expectations were for the Vikings and how considerably higher they were for the Lions. I think both teams have got a sort of reason to be winning, obviously. Well, you want to win, but you're doing it from different circumstances. But I think the Lions are by far a better team on paper, and I think the Lions will win, but I do find it hard to back against the Vikings because they always seem to find a way to win these games, but the Lions are just too good at the moment, so unfortunately the Vikings are going to get knocked out in this round.
They find a way to win them games apart from when they had to win for the number 1 seed on the final day.
Against the best team in the NFC, which has been undisputed for the full season.
So Kia, me and you both had the Rams taking on the Lions as a bit of a... I mean, we know the stakes that's set with that sort of game, but what do you think will happen?
I think history will repeat itself. I don't see any way that last year's result gets changed. I think the Rams would be happy to beat the Vikings, to be honest. After they've had a pretty adverse season with injuries and stuff like that. So even getting to the divisional round would probably, when you look back at the year, be a success. Whereas for the Lions, that wouldn't be a success. So give me the Lions. I don't see any way they don't make it to at least a championship game.
It's a difficult one. I think, as I said, with the stakes of this game, it's always going to throw up some surprises. I think, part of me think, the Rams, I think they started the season 0-4, and the fact they've come through and made the 4 seed is really impressive, and they're on an unbelievable run of momentum. but it's hard to look past the Lions, isn't it? Just with all them injuries, and they're still performing to a point where they are the number one seed in the NFC, and they're 2 games away from a Super Bowl. I'm going to take the Lions. As much as I like predicting little upsets here and there, but I think as far as that goes, that'll be it for upset watch in these sort of games. I just think the Lions they know how to beat the Rams in this situation. Did it last year. And I think this year they're better off than they were last year. So I think they should win this game. But again, wouldn't be surprised if there any of the upsets to happen in this round, it would be the Rams to win that game. And then next up, again, Caden, you went different here because you picked the Commanders and the Eagles, was it, instead?
Yeah.
So again, I'll let you go first. Commanders versus the Eagles in the divisional round, and an NFC East matchup for that as well.
Yeah, you've got to take that into consideration. But unfortunately, it's not going to be enough for the Commanders. They are going to maybe get blown out by the Eagles. They're just 2 different caliber of teams, unfortunately. The Eagles looked very good all season, apart from maybe 2 games where they weren't amazing, but they have been fairly consistent. And the Commanders, they had a big drop-off, and you'd almost say they're lucky to be in the playoffs because of how bad the fall-off was at one point. But I think making it to the divisional round for them would be an achievement, and it shows that they're really building a really good team there. But the Eagles will breeze past them.
I'll start us off. So, Key, me and you both predicted the Bucks and the Eagles to progress to the divisional round. And as much as Max says never to bet against Baker, I feel like I might have to do it here because I just don't think they've got what it takes to reach the NFC Championship game this season. I think they very loosely deserve the playoff spot as it was. And I think the Eagles, with Jalen Hurts, I'm assuming if he's not back for that first game, he'll definitely be back for the second game. And I just don't see a world where the Bucks come out of this with a win. I think the Eagles will all depend. I think the whole playoff campaign depends on Jalen Hurts, really, because as much as they've got Saquon, they've got AJ Brown, they've got Devonta Smith. There's only so much they can do without a quarterback, and if it is Kenny Pickett, then there's very little that offense can do because it'll just be force feeding Saquon the entire time, and soon enough teams will work out how to stop him. But I'm going to pick the Eagles in this one. What about you, Kian?
This is going to be my first shock result. I don't think it will happen, to be honest, but everyone else has had a shock. So here goes. Nick Sirianni has been riding his luck for a very long time. I'm shocked that man still has the job. Not off the back of this year, obviously, but he has been riding his luck for a very, very long time. And I just think that if they were to lose the divisional round against the Buccaneers, that'd probably be the end of Sirianni. I don't know if you agree. If that would get him sacked, I think it probably would.
I think it would as well.
I'll throw the question out there. I think 100%
I think
would.
it would.
I'm going to go for the Buccaneers.
It's a bold prediction, isn't it? I see what you mean. I think I agree with you in the sense of I think it might be time up for Sirianni if he
100%.
does lose this game because, as you said, he's been riding his luck. He had an awful start to this season, albeit recovered it really well. But I just think there's a limit on how many times you can go through this playoff system and not come out with at least a time in the Super Bowl. And I know we did get there a couple of years ago, but since then it's just been bleak. And if they lose to the Bucks, I think that should be the nail in the coffin. But I mean, I'd love to see that personally. I'd love to see them lose to the Packers in the first place. But I think I can see where you're coming from with that prediction, at least, if anything. So moving on, 4 teams left. We have our AFC Championship game. So for you two, it'll be the Chiefs and the Bills. And for me, it'll be the Chiefs and the Ravens. So Kian, you can start us off. Who do you think will be heading to the Super Bowl?
Honest, hand on heart, genuinely honest answer, Buffalo Bills. Hear me out. They've done it. They've already done it this year. They've already taken them down. They took them down when they were unbeaten. They were a team that everyone was afraid of. And Buffalo went and beat Kansas City in a good game. They've beaten them. They've done it. And I think they're going to do it again. Buffalo Bills are slowly going to start flipping the script on Kansas City and becoming a bit of their kryptonite for me. And I also, this is a bit of a wild prediction while they've still got Patrick Mahomes. I think this is bit of a win or bust situation for Kansas. Because if you look at how they performed this year, key players, Travis Kelce, etc., have not performed well at all, right? Albeit he's somehow still in the fucking Pro Bowl. Anyway, so this is what I mean. Like, they've got key starters not playing well at all. I don't know how they finished on 15-2. So I think if they don't win it this year, we could see them slowly not fade into obscurity. They've still got Patrick Mahomes, but slowly start to be challenged by teams like the Chargers in our division. So yeah, give me the Bills.
Caden?
Yeah, shockingly, I'm going to back the Bills as well. I feel like there's only so much Chiefs black magic that can happen in a season, and I feel like their luck's running out a little bit now. And I think Josh Allen is the man to take down Kansas City again. As Kian said, he's done it in the regular season. I don't see any reason that he couldn't do it in the playoffs this year. Obviously, no one wants to play against Mahomes in the playoffs unless you're Joe Burrow, because he's just better. But Buffalo, there's just something about him this year. Josh Allen is just playing at a ridiculous level. Like, you don't see it often, someone playing this well. And I don't think it'll go to waste. I think that they will beat the Chiefs.
To shock to absolutely nobody, I'm going to completely disagree. And even if I had not the Ravens and the Bills in this situation, I'm still taking the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. I think you've forgotten how lucky they actually can get and how they don't even start trying until this game. And I think the fact they've got the number 1 seed and I don't even think they've really been asked the entire season. The fact they now will care. People like Kelce will turn up for the playoffs. He always does this. He will always turn up for the playoffs. I don't see a world where the Chiefs aren't in the Super Bowl again.
He's too interested in his misses than he is in the actual league anymore.
Yeah, but everyone says this, and then he'll come out in the AFC Championship and get like 3 touchdowns and winning the game. It happens all the time. Everyone thinks this team will beat the Chiefs, this will beat the Chiefs, and it's just not going to happen. The Chiefs don't lose to the Bills in the playoffs. It just doesn't happen with Josh Allen.
They do now.
They only lose to the Bengals.
I had the Ravens here, and if it's the Ravens, I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind that this will be a Chiefs Super Bowl. If it's the Bills, I have very little doubt it's still going to be the Chiefs. I just think they are the best team in the NFL, and I think they just don't show it. And I think they're going to finally turn up and show everyone why they deserve to be the number 1 seed and why they're actually considered the team that they are. And as the guy said on socials, I can't remember his name, I do apologize, but they have 2 games a season and they have to win 2 games, that's it, and they're done. And I think this will be the start of a 2-1 streak. So give me the Chiefs.
I think you're too haunted by past experiences to open your eyes and see they really haven't been that good this year.
Yeah, I know they haven't been that good this year, but as I said, they don't start trying until the AFC Championship game.
They're professional athletes. Of course they try.
Yeah, but they don't need. This is the thing. They don't need. They can be. As I said, they've been at what 50% of what they normally are, and they're the number 1 seed. They bump it up 25%, and they batter the Bills.
I refuse to believe that they can turn up to this playoff playing how they have played and win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry,
but they're not going to. This is my point.
No, I think they are. I think this is the season. They're not going to three-peat. I can't see it.
We'll get onto that in a minute anyway. But so you 2 have Bills in the Super Bowl, and I have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So we'll move over to the NFC Championship. So I believe, is it for all of us the Lions against the Eagles?
Yeah.
No, I've got Lions against Bucks.
Oh, Lions and Bucks. Okay, then with that interesting prediction, I'm assuming yours will be a fairly quick answer. So we'll start with
Lions. That's as fast as it needs to be.
That's it.
It doesn't need anything else.
Okay, fair enough. Caden?
Yeah, I think the Lions do the business and they do go to the Super Bowl. I had a couple of doubts, but I do feel like they will get to the Super Bowl at least. I'd be quite shocked if they didn't, based on how they've been playing, but I will take the Lions.
For me, I think the only game I'm worried for is for the Lions is that divisional game. I think that they're going to have more troubles in that divisional game than anywhere else, even though I think the Eagles are a better team than either of the teams they'd face there. I just think if they get to the AFC Championship, they'll get to the Super Bowl. And for me, I'm going to set up what probably everyone expects in reality, as much as you want to push down your hatred for the Chiefs and try and back it against them. For me, it's going to be the Lions against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But for you two, you're saying it is the Bills against the Lions.
The Super Bowl that everyone wants.
America's Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would. I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy if I said I don't want the Chiefs. Well, I've got a bet on them, so I kind of do. But apart from that, that's the only loyalty I have to the Chiefs this Super Bowl. But as far as what everyone wants, it is the Bills, isn't it, to go all the way? But so for you two, Bills, Lions, Super Bowl. Who are your Super Bowl champions for 2024-25?
Who's starting? Not me. Not this time.
Caden,
Right,
well, you
I'll
can
start.
start.
So, obviously, everyone's knowing me for my good predictions, so I better not disappoint.
So whatever they say is back against it.
I believe that Jared Goff will not be lifting that Lombardi. It's going to Buffalo. I think Josh Allen is just in too much of a mindset of winning to lose. He will be a Super Bowl champion. He'll end this curse that has been stowed upon Buffalo, and he will be the hero that they've always wanted. And his face will be everywhere. He'll be on the buses. He'll be on the trains. He'll just be on the billboards everywhere. He's going to be like the most famous person in the history of that franchise.
Kian?
I'm also going to set you up now with a little bit of a promo. So on one side, you've got Dan Big Cock Campbell. On the other side, you've got Sean McDermott's explosive football. You know, this is how a Super Bowl should look, guys. You know, come on, we don't want to see people like Andy Reid. We need people like this, right?
We need terrorists.
And on that note, I agree with Caden. I think that Josh Allen is going to be lifting that Lombardi, pretending it's his Garden B from when he was a kid, and they're going to go all the way. And this is going to be Josh Allen's year. Give me the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl champs, and I'll buy a fucking hat because it'll be the end of the Chiefs' reign of terror, and I'll be a happy little man for another
Josh
year.
Allen Wyoming jersey.
Yeah, sorry to burst everyone's bubble. The Chiefs will win the Super Bowl, and I have absolutely zero doubt in my mind. I think if the Lions, the only way the Lions win the Super Bowl is if they're not playing the Chiefs. I think any other team, the Lions win the Super Bowl 100%. But
why didn't you give us a promo?
Because I'm not setting up happiness around a Chiefs win because I don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen. I tried to be optimistic. I tried to say all season.
It could have been Andy Rotund Reid.
Yeah, no promo because it's not what anyone wants to happen, but it's what's going to happen and what everyone's not really ready to accept, and evidently you aren't ready to accept it either yet. But come February, everyone will be depressed again because the Chiefs are going to walk out with their third Super Bowl in a row. I just think when it gets to it in the big game, I just don't see a way the Lions can take them down. I think are the Lions potentially the better football team at the minute, 100%. Do the Lions have the bottle to win a Super Bowl? I don't think so, unless they play someone like the Bills. Because I think they have more bottle than the Bills would in that situation, and they have a better team, more to the point. So, if it is the Chiefs and the Lions, I'm going to back the Chiefs. If it's the Chiefs versus anyone, I'm still taking the Chiefs because the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. And as much as I don't want it to happen, I think it's going to. So, apologies to everyone. Well, anyone in the NFL who isn't a Chiefs fan or a Taylor Swift fan. But I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Sorry, James. I didn't quite catch that over the sound of you gagging at the ball of Patrick Mahomes.
I told you, I don't want it to happen. I don't. I want the Lions or the Bills or anyone else to win it. I said the Vikings, for fuck's sake. But I don't think the power of Sam Darnold, my friend's going to get it done, unfortunately. And neither is the
James
power
Collinsworth.
Huh?
James Collinsworth, mate. It's just a fucking joke.
But yeah, give me the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. But we'll revisit these predictions. Obviously, we're not just going to do that now. We will come back next week when whatever teams, including the Denver Broncos, have won their first game in the playoffs. And we will revisit and predict the next round of the playoffs. But for now, that is all we have for this week, I believe. So thank you very much to Kian and Caden for joining me. And we'll be back next week for our divisional round predictions.
Let's go, Buffalo.
Thanks, everyone.